Look, I did all the traditional ab work, the sit-ups, the crunches, the mountain runners. I did them all. You name it, I did them. But now I don't do any of that additional stuff anymore because I'm focusing on what will actually help me to perform better on the pitch, run faster, and also have a functional six-pack for the summer. Look, most of us, including me, still have so much to gain in our lower back, in the hip flexors and lower abs, and the quadratus lumborum, all of which can be trained with measurable strength. And we see that lacking strength here not only ruins your speed gains, but also your six-pack gains. I know, wild claims, but let's just have a closer look into it. So the hip flexors and lower abs, they work together with your six-pack. But your hip flexors and lower abs have much more strength potential than your six-pack, which means the stronger your lower abs and hip flexors, the more strength you can also gain in your six-pack. The L-sit is a great way to demonstrate that, because if you think about it, if you get into this position, you have to squeeze your six-pack, and then what is actually going to hold you in that L-sit position is your hip flexors. Your hip flexors are going to keep the legs off the floor. So the stronger you are at keeping your legs off the floor with your hip flexors and lower abs, the longer you can also work out your six-pack. So I hope this makes sense. It's getting really intense here. But this is just one way, and one of the hardest ways to combine the training of lower abs, hip flexors, and six-pack. You can also do low cable pull-ins, gore hammer raises. Those are all great exercises to combine the motion of lifting your legs, so training your hip flexors. This one is really tough, I'm telling you guys. I'd be curious to know what you got in the L-sit. How long can you hold an L-sit? But I'm telling you, this one will really burn not only your six-pack is what I'm saying, it's also going to help work out those lower abs, those hip flexors, which are much more important for athleticism. And then jacking up the hip flexor even more with free weight hip flexor raises, keeping the glute engaged, legs straight, explosive on the way up, slow on the way down. This is shown to have the greatest results on hip flexor development. Then of course, jacking up the front of your core means you have to jack up the backside of it too. You can't just have a nice six-pack and then still have the prone low back of the average 30-year-old nowadays. And the most athletic ways to do that is with seated good mornings, RDLs, and my new favorite way, single leg back extension. Now, hip extension in general is widely known for its importance in athlete speed, but people often forget about the low back, which is a key component of that whole movement of running. And then also they just perform RDLs, never getting into that deep hip flexion with the seated good morning, for example. Why is that so important? Well, in basketball, football, pretty much every contact sport, you always get told to get low, to be able to get into those low positions, deep hip flexion right here. Every single great player tells you you have to be able to get low if you want to be a great defender, all right? But you don't just want to be able to get low, you also want to be able to explode out of this position. And that's exactly what the seated good morning helps us do. So seated good morning is a must. It's going to develop your lower back extremely well in that deep hip flexion, but it's also going to power up your glutes, open up your adductors, your inner hamstrings, everything. So it's a no-brainer. Now for hip extension, I mentioned the RDL, which most already do, great exercise. Now you also know why to do the seated good morning. And now when you look at top speed, which position do you get into there? It's this one, right? Top speed. If you look at this in slow motion, it's really extending everything. Your leg is straight, it's extended, your hip is extended, your back is extended. And that, if you think about it, it's not going to happen with the RDL. It's not going to be trained because this is the hardest position. Here, where you have everything extended, like in the top speed position, in the RDL, it's not really hard. But that's exactly the position we developed with the back extension so extremely well. Because if you think about it, the hardest position is not here at the bottom, but here at the top where we have to squeeze our glutes. It really contract those hamstrings, everything, push the feet into the plate. That's why the back extension is really the exercise to develop the position that you get into when you're running at top speed. So now you have it all three: back extension, RDL, seated good morning. If you do those, your core, your low back is gonna be ready for top speed. Not only that, your whole hip, but the topic of this video, of course, is the core. And you wanna know that in that top speed position, you have to be able to extend your back with your legs straight and everything, and have strength in that position. And that's what we're gonna do with the back extension. With the single leg back extension, preferably, because we can rebalance strength from side to side. Now that we've targeted the front and back of our core, it's time that we target the side of our core. And for that, we use the QL raise, also with the back extension machine. And as the name says, it's going to really, really specifically target your QL here, but it's also going to develop your side abs. So it's a great exercise. And if you think you're strong enough in that lateral motion of the spine, I dare you to try 3 sets of 15 reps on this exercise. When I first discovered this exercise, it was actually when Ben Patrick showed me all of these exercises I'm showing you right now. So shout out to him. He challenged me to do 3 sets of 15 reps on this exercise as well. And all I can tell you, I was sore for a whole freaking week. I'm not joking, but this just showed me how much potential gains I had waiting, and also just protection for my lumbar spine. Because if you look at the QL, it connects from your lumbar spine directly to your hip. So every twisting motion in your sport or resisting motion in your sport, your QL is involved. So your QL is just a key part of your core, a big component of rotational strength as well. So really don't miss out on these QL gains, my friends. And lastly, I want to say this is definitely not the be-all, end-all. You can always do additional stuff, do more core work, but really focusing on these areas, jacking these areas up with measurable strength gains will directly transfer to your speed and your six-pack. And what does an athlete want more than that, truly? So jack up your QL, jack up your lower back, and jack up your hip flexors and lower abs with the exercises I'm showing in this video. If you want to see more gems like this, leave a like, give me some feedbacks down in the comments. And yeah, if you're not yet subscribed, you're truly not locked in. So make sure to subscribe to stay locked in, especially if you don't feel like it. Peace.